Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're embarking on what feels like a fascinating journey. We're going to unpack a piece of source material called English Boost, greeting people and starting conversations. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Greetings. Starting conversations, that sounds, well, pretty basic, right? But our mission today is really to dig beneath that surface. We want to discover the surprising depth, maybe the ingenious design behind it, and the universal communication lessons hidden inside. Can you really find profound insights about human connection in like the most basic English lessons? We're going to explore not just what it teaches, but how it actually structures those first social interactions and what we can learn from its approach to making, complex social cues seem accessible, turning simple words into powerful social tools.
Yeah, and what's truly insightful here, I think, is how this material manages to distill these often unspoken rules,
Yes.
the rules of starting conversations, right? And it makes them into actionable steps. So for anyone, maybe a language learner, or honestly, anyone curious about communication, it reveals these universal principles, how we engage with others. It doesn't really matter what language. This deep dive should help us understand those critical elements, the often subtle things behind making those first connections.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Let's start with a warm-up question, and this comes straight from our source. It's designed to make you think a bit. When you meet a friend on the street, how do you typically greet them? Is it hello or hi, maybe good morning? Seems like such an obvious choice, doesn't it? But let's explore why even this simple decision has layers to it.
Well, yeah, that warm-up question, it's deceptively simple, isn't it? It immediately makes you consider, well, the context and the relationship. Hello tends to feel a bit more formal, maybe, perhaps for someone you respect but aren't super close with, or, in a more professional setting. Hi is definitely more casual, friendly, often for peers, close acquaintances. And then good morning or good afternoon, that's tied to the time of day. It carries a different sort of politeness, almost like a gentle acknowledgement of the shared moment. A key thing here is that this small choice reflects a fundamental cultural variable, right? How quickly do we establish familiarity? In some cultures, skipping the formal stuff is a sign of disrespect. In others, it's a mark of warmth, closeness. So the source implicitly teaches you to navigate that spectrum, even with just 3 options.
That's a fantastic point about the cultural spectrum.
Yeah.
And for someone learning a new language, figuring out that nuance, wow, that can be incredibly challenging. It's not just knowing the words, is it? It's knowing which word to use in which situation, like finding the right key for a specific lock. And the source follows this right up by giving us a short conversation to show these ideas in action. It's a dialogue between 2 people, Ian and Sarah, and it feels very natural. Ian starts, "Hi, Sarah, how are you today?" And Sarah responds, "Hi, Ian, I'm great, thank you. And you?"
And a really significant takeaway from just that opening exchange is how quickly it establishes what we might call a reciprocal pattern. That back and forth where both people contribute, keep the conversation moving. Sarah doesn't just answer, she immediately returns the question, and you. That shows active engagement, interest in Ian. This isn't just like a language lesson. It's a little masterclass in social etiquette baked right into those few lines, that consistent back and forth. It's crucial for building rapport, making sure the conversation feels balanced, flowing. Without it, it can feel more like an interrogation, right? Not an exchange.
Right. It's like one person's just peppering the other with questions.
Yeah.
And Ian picks up on that really nicely. He continues, "I'm good, thanks. How's your work going?" It's a very natural pivot, isn't it? They've done the initial pleasantries, checked in on each other, and now they're moving to a more specific topic, but it's still pretty general. "How's your work going?" It's a classic. Relatively low stakes question. You're inviting the other person to share a bit, but you're not putting them on the spot.
Yep.
Nothing too personal or complex right away.
Precisely. And choosing a low-stakes question like that serves a few purposes. It shows genuine interest, sure, but it's also easy to answer. That reduces potential awkwardness, especially early on, or maybe across cultural divides. It's a way of inviting sharing without demanding too much. And the beauty of these open-ended questions is they allow for a range of responses, like Sarah's. "It's busy but interesting. I'm learning new things every day." See, she doesn't just give a one-word answer. She gives Ian something to work with, what we might call a hook.
Yes, that hook. That's exactly what makes her response so effective.
Yeah.
Busy, but interesting.
Yeah.
It's concise, it's informative, and it gives a clear entry point for more conversation. She doesn't just say fine. She gives Ian something positive, something engaging to latch onto. And that phrase, "I'm learning new things every day," that really opens things up, doesn't it? It suggests growth, engagement, without needing a huge explanation right then. I remember once trying to start a conversation in another language. I just kept saying good or fine. And the conversation just died. I realize now I wasn't giving anyone a hook.
Your experience illustrates the point perfectly. Yeah. In a sort of broader context, Sarah's reply shows a key principle of engaging conversation. You provide enough information to keep the other person interested, but you don't overwhelm them with loads of detail. Busy but interesting. It's a perfect summary. And adding the learning new things bit gives it a spark. It signals openness, a positive outlook. That's incredibly inviting in any social situation. It's a very artful way of keeping that conversational ball rolling.
Totally. And Ian picks up on that spark immediately. He says, that's awesome. Let's grab coffee later. And this is where that initial greeting, the small talk, it transitions. It becomes a concrete suggestion for meeting up again, solidifying the connection they just built. It's a practical application of all that preliminary rapport building.
Right. And that quick shift from current status to future plans, that's a powerful conversational move. It takes the rapport they've just established and turns it into an invitation for more engagement later. It's not just about what they're saying, but the intent behind it. Building and maintaining relationships. It shows how even a simple, well-structured conversation, even a brief one, can be a bridge to deeper or longer-term interactions. It really reinforces that initial interactions aren't just about swapping info. They're about laying the groundwork for future connection.
Exactly. And Sarah's response, sure, I'd love that. It's clear, it's enthusiastic, no ambiguity, just pure affirmation. The whole conversation. It's brief, yeah, but it's this perfect little loop. Connection, interest, future planning. It's like a microcosm of effective communication, something many of us could probably learn from, even in our native language. Now let's look at the vocabulary highlights the source pulls out. It lists 4 key words. Greet, to say hello. Conversation, talking between 2 or more people. Busy, having a lot to do. And interesting, something that gains your attention. Okay, at first glance, these might seem super basic, almost too simple to even highlight, But I think there's a reason they're specifically called out like this.
Well, what's particularly compelling, I think, is how deliberately these words seem to be selected. Greet and conversation. Okay, they're foundational to the topic itself. They're the building blocks for the action of the lesson. But busy and interesting, they're more than just vocabulary words. They function as like descriptive anchors for that initial small talk. They let you share a state or an observation without getting bogged down in complex details. They empower someone, especially a learner, to express themselves simply but effectively in really common social scenarios. Think about it. A new learner might struggle to describe their complex project at work, right? But they can easily say their work is busy or interesting. And that immediately communicates something meaningful, relatable. Their simplicity is actually their strength here. It enables early confidence.
Okay, yeah, I see that. So it's like they're providing the essential toolkit for managing exactly the kind of interaction we just heard in the sample conversation. You need to know how to start things off, greet, what the activity actually is, conversation, and then you need some core words to describe your current state or the topic. Busy explains maybe why you can't talk long or why work's consuming. Interesting lets you express engagement without needing to explain why it's interesting yet. It gives learners the agency to participate without feeling totally overwhelmed by vocabulary.
Exactly right. These aren't just random words pulled out of a hat. They are strategically chosen for how useful they are in those very first stages of connection. And the instruction, try to use these words in your own sentences. That just reinforces the idea that active application is absolutely key. You have to internalize them, move beyond just recognizing the words to actually using them. It's building that bridge from theory to practice.
Right. And then the source includes a section on pronunciation practice. It focuses on, hello, how are you today? It even gives a phonetic guide. Hello, how are you today? And then tells you, try saying the sentence 3 times, slowly and clearly. It seems like a small detail maybe. But it speaks volumes, I think, about the holistic approach this source is taking to communication.
And this brings up an important question, doesn't it, about integrating different ways of learning. It's not enough just to know what to say. You absolutely have to know how to say it. Pronunciation is critical. For clarity, obviously, but maybe even more importantly, for confidence, especially in those first interactions. Practicing slowly, clearly, it helps build that muscle memory for speech, makes it feel more natural when you're actually in a real-time conversation. It reduces what we call the cognitive load and the mental effort you need just to process everything during an interaction. So you can focus more on the social cues, the content, rather than just stumbling over the sounds. It's about fluency in the physical act of speaking too.
That really shows that effective communication isn't just the words on the page, it's the whole package, isn't it? The sound, the rhythm, the delivery, and how all that reduces the mental gymnastics when you're trying to connect with someone. And speaking of practice, the quick tips section is packed with really actionable advice. It says, want to improve fast, practice every day, speak English with friends, family, even with yourself in the mirror.
Yeah, a key observation there is the emphasis on daily pervasive practice, making it part of your routine. It normalizes speaking, even if it's just to yourself. That's a legitimate way to improve. This isn't just about learning English, is it? It's about building a habit of engagement, overcoming that internal barrier, that self-consciousness that often stops learners. And the advice to watch our videos 3 times a week, that reinforces consistency too, which is vital for acquiring any skill, really. Language, music, tech skills, whatever.
It truly gets right to the heart of learning, doesn't it? It's not about these huge, infrequent efforts. It's about consistent, smaller ones, building momentum over time. And then there's that really impactful statement. For me, this elevates the whole source beyond just a language lesson. Remember, mistakes are proof you are learning.
You know, if we connect this to the bigger picture, that sentence, it's arguably one of the most profound insights in the whole source.
I think so.
Yeah.
It completely reframes mistakes. They're not failures. They're essential data points in your learning process. That mindset encourages resilience. It drastically reduces that fear of error that so often paralyzes people, especially learners. It promotes a growth-oriented approach. It basically tells you every attempt, even if it's imperfect, is a step forward. It's like giving yourself permission to be imperfect.
Yeah.
Which is incredibly liberating, you know? It changes the whole perspective from, oh, I failed to, oh, okay, I tried, and now I know a little bit more. And that applies to almost anything we try to do, wouldn't you say? Absolutely. It's like a philosophy for life, not just for learning languages. It encourages us to step outside our comfort zones, knowing that every little stumble is just part of the journey. And the action task from the source puts this right into practice. It says, pause the video and greet someone around you, or comment below how you would greet a new friend in English. It's an immediate call to action. It demands you engage.
That direct action task is crucial because it bridges that gap between just passively consuming information and actively creating something. It forces you, the learner, to immediately apply what you've just heard and thought about, whether it's actually practicing with someone nearby or just thinking through and writing down how you'd greet someone in a comment. It requires conscious effort. It reinforces the learning. It moves that knowledge from just theoretical understanding to practical application. And that's where true learning really sticks, right? It's about moving from knowing about communication to actually doing it.
So wrapping this up, what does this all mean for us, for you listening? This deep dive into English Boost, greeting people and starting conversations, well, it's shown us that mastering those initial interactions, it goes way beyond just knowing the words. It's about the intention behind them, the structure you use, and really the willingness to just engage. We saw how even a simple sample conversation can reveal so much about building rapport, asking about work, suggesting coffee, all while subtly guiding you through those social cues.
Yeah, and what's truly illuminating here is how the source emphasizes the power of that core vocabulary. Words like greet, conversation, busy, interesting, seeing them as essential tools for that early engagement, giving learners confidence and agency. And if we connect this back to the bigger picture again, the guidance to practice every day, and especially that crucial insight, mistakes are proof you're learning. It really underscores a universal truth about any kind of learning, any skill acquisition. It encourages that mindset of persistent, iterative improvement, embracing the journey itself.
Which raises, I think, an important final question for you to consider. Is simply unpacking the practice of greetings and small talk can unlock so much about universal communication and even the psychology of learning. What other seemingly small, everyday interactions might hold profound lessons for us if we just took a moment to truly deconstruct them, appreciate them? So as you go about your day, maybe consider the next time you greet someone or start a conversation. Think about those hidden structures, the subtle cues, the intent that's at play. Perhaps, as this simple guide suggests, a well-chosen hello isn't just a word. Maybe it really is the start of something truly interesting. Keep that thought in mind and keep exploring.